Greetings, I'm Daniel McFadin, and welcome to the latest episode of Dropping the Hammer. This episode is a follow-up to an appearance I made on the Fast Lap podcast earlier this month. I'm joined by the host of that show, Deb and Chrissi. On the appearance I made, the main topic of discussion was NASCAR romance novels, which were written about a decade ago. So that was a real fun time. Please check that out before you watch this. But I wanted to return the favor to them, and this is the episode that resulted. We talk about how they got into NASCAR, their memories of going to races for the first time, and how Chrissy's son rejected a checkered flag from Erik Jones after the 2020 Busch clash. So here it is, the newest episode of Dropping the Hammer. So I already started recording. So, welcome to Dropping the Hammer, ladies.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
I've been doing this 7 months, and by now you'd think I'd have like some sort of catchphrase to say, welcome to the Hammer Zone or something, but no, I don't. So
You like the sound of like a gavel in the beginning, like
oh, I like that. I like that.
The hammer, boom, and
I like
then
that.
it just starts.
I like that.
There
All
you
right,
go,
so
done and done.
so if everyone who is listening to this in the future, we're recording this on Tuesday, August 17th, 2 days after the Cup race at Indianapolis. But this won't be released until next week, so there'll be like there'll be a week gap. So with me is Chrissy and Deb. They had me on their podcast last week, the Fast Lap podcast, and I had a hell of a time.
It was
and
fun.
I wanted to return. What'd you say?
I said it was definitely fun.
So and I wanted to return the favor, and here you guys are. So what is up with you two today?
Deb, Deb's had a rough day.
Yeah, I've had a rough day. Yesterday I went to an amusement park with my parents and my 5-year-old niece so that she could ride rides. Well, as I've gotten older, I've noticed that my level of motion sickness, intolerability of being on rides or even being in the car has ramped itself up, meaning that I can't get in the backseat of a car without Dramamine anymore.
Ooh.
So yeah. So that's a lot of fun. So you can imagine how I felt getting on rides called the Tilt-A-Whirl, the Scrambler, and what was the other one? It was tornado themed. So it ended up raining. We went to this like pizza joint outside of the place. Then we came home. Well, I either am still motion sick or I got food poisoning from that place and have been sick all last night and all today.
Oh, I hope you're feeling better now in this moment.
We should be good. I recorded when I had COVID still, so
don't podcast and make sudden movements. Then you never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
No sudden movements while podcasting.
Right. No crazy moving around. My son's birthday is tomorrow. Ronan, my little NASCAR fan. So that was my day today. I went and got some presents. I actually, I'm not gonna say it too loud, but I was able to find that little deck of cards, I guess, that everyone's trying to find. I didn't realize it was a thing, that collector thing that's got Haley Deegan on the front. I would show you, but it's wrapped.
Yeah, I'm still amazed that card collecting of any sort is still a thing. It just makes I don't get it.
And you know how we talked about our Walmarts being out or very behind last time on our show? When I went shopping at Target today, there was only two die casts, two of the 164 die casts, and it was like Michael Annette and I think I can't even remember. I think it was like a random Brian Newman or something. And I was like, okay, so we're just not restocking NASCAR. Okay.
Well, I don't know who's in charge of that. Like, is it the company that makes the die cast sending them to Walmart? Is it Walmart ordering them, or just I don't. At least I want to think at least they're being bought, but I'm also of the mind maybe it's just these diehards who are swooping in and getting all of them at once in order to either hoard or sell, on eBay or whatever. So I just don't know.
Done that. I've done that. Like,
Deb,
I know our Walmart's getting a wave.
Oh no, you're a villain.
Well, and I know that my friends can find them. And the same thing with like the trailers.
Oh yeah.
So I go early in the morning. Like I'll go 4 days in a row when I know that they're about to get these die casts, and I'll buy a bunch of them and I'll just send them to people who want them.
Oh, see, that's different. Like when you keep an eye
you're not a villain
online versus like selling them.
Yeah, no, I'm not selling them on eBay to turn a profit on them. I'm just sending them to my friends who want them, who can't find them.
Oh, okay.
I guess I'll allow it.
So, all right. So, guys, the Fast Lap podcast, from my understanding, is what, like just a year old or so?
Yes.
Officially a year old now. Just recently, I think we recorded our first episode August 10th, 2020. So, officially a year.
So, wow. How did you guys? I guess well, first off, Chrissy, you're in Florida, right? And
yes.
Deb, you're in Maryland?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do two NASCAR fans in Maryland and Florida hook up for a podcast like this?
Twitter.
Okay, all roads lead to Twitter. So how'd it happen?
So I love this. I get to roast Deb for this. She's gonna get me back one day, I'm sure. So Deb was writing an article for TheBend.com on female fans and figures in motorsports and how we kind of, get the unfair treatment. Mm-hmm. She reached out to me because I was writing at the time for my friend Rob Johnson at the Podium Finish.
Oh, so we have a mutual friend. Cool. Awesome.
Yes, Rob is a sweetheart. I love him. Shout out to Rob. And shout out to everyone on the Podium Finish. So she reached out to me with the questions. I filled them out. I did my whole thing. She released her first article. I wasn't in it. I was fine. I was like, oh, she's like, she wrote me. She's like, I'm going to do a part 2 with like people in the industry. I'm like, okay. She released part 2. I was still not in it. So I was like, okay. So then we just kind of started messaging back and forth. And like, I wasn't like mad, but I was, teasing her. And
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Exactly. So then we just I kind of felt like we vibed pretty well, but we didn't talk that much. And like one day I was like, I like the writing thing, but it's sitting down and writing and then rereading and editing over and over. I just don't have like the time with parenting and everything. Mm. And I was like, I like to talk. Maybe I'll do a podcast. And like the only person I could think of that I felt like would share that like idea with me was Deb. So I was like, hey, do you I kind of want to do a podcast? And she's like, oh, that's cool. And then I was like, no, do you want to do it with me? And she's just like, okay. And that's how it started.
And so this is all in like August of last year, or when exactly?
A couple weeks before.
July.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never wrote anything for public consumption. Was just talking to my friend Matthew Burrows, and he was talking about how he reviews books, and that's, I like books. I was like, hey, if you ever get like overwhelmed and have too many books to read, I'm a speed reader and I could knock out reviews for you in an evening. That's no problem at all. But we were watching our race. I feel like it was Kansas, maybe something. It was around, I feel like it might have been Kansas. Anyway, and he's like, so I have this idea for this article, but I can't write it because I'm not a female, but I'd really like to go on this little journey. And I'm like, oh, well, that sounds fun. I can, take a stab at it because I'd never written anything. I barely reviewed books for funsies. So that whole thing was a whirlwind, especially part 2. So I kind of feel bad that you weren't included, but I feel like this worked out a little bit better.
I think so too.
So when did you guys like first meet? Because I saw your pinned tweet on the podcast Twitter account is you, I get guys meeting in May of last year, yes. May 25th or this year? This year.
Yeah.
This year.
We had met, barely talked, and I didn't even think that she was actually asking me to do the podcast. I thought she was just kind of like bouncing ideas off of me, and I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever I can do to help you, let me know. I'll look into some stuff. So I didn't realize until she was like flat out like, no, I want you to co-host with me.
No.
I was like, oh, okay, why not?
Which, mind you, the first time we ever spoke, like leading up to the whole meeting thing, the first time we ever actually spoke outside of just like DMing, which it took us a while to even just like get to the point of exchanging numbers. I think it was when we were trying to figure out a podcast name that we were like, okay, it's just easier just to text. And
this is a weird courtship.
It is.
Yeah,
it's very 21st century. So then, so the first time we met face to face, not in real life, was when we tested out Zoom for the first time. I think the morning of our first podcast.
Yeah.
It was a hot mess. And Michael, oh my God, forgive me. I said Michael. Matthew, my brain is tired. Matthew was our first guest. And I thought Zoom would automatically save, but I was using my Chromebook and it doesn't save or doesn't record. So I didn't know this till we started actually the podcast. So I had to use this like audio recording app on my phone. It was a hot mess. That first episode is super embarrassing, but it's also gold because it's our first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely a charm to the getting on the bike for the first time.
Yeah.
And we didn't practice. We just thought, oh, we'll just hit the button and it'll be fine. No. We've learned a lot since then.
But yeah, it just kind of like as soon as we started talking, we actually hit it off really well right in the beginning. And then we finally met face to face this past May. We went to Charlotte and we just had never met. We went straight from like, hey, you know what? We've never met, but let's just rent it. Let's just live together for a week. I've got kids. It's safe. I'm not going to get murdered. And if I do, well, you know what? That's NASCAR. So
we literally like just, like most people would be like, hey, are you going to be at this race? Let's hang out. No, we just went to full on. We lived together for a week in an Airbnb. And
if I get murdered, oh well, that's NASCAR.
Quote of the day.
That's the title of the episode. Murdered. Oh well, that's.
Luckily, I obviously did not get murdered. I didn't murder Deb.
It was fun. It was fantastic. So now
we got locked out for like 3 hours, and I couldn't reach the owner of the Airbnb because he was too busy apparently refereeing a wrestling match, because that's a thing. And but we did have our alcohol because we had access to the downstairs because like they changed the garage to like a downstairs game room / like there was other bedrooms. It was a really cool setup.
Yeah, great Airbnb.
It was, except the only door he can get into was that door into the garage game room area, not to the upstairs. And my husband thought he was doing a good thing because they had this really cool like spiral fireman
ladder.
Cool
thing. But if you locked the door that leads to the main house, you're screwed. And my husband locked it thinking, like there was nothing on the Airbnb that said, do not lock this door. So we could get in the house technically, but it was hot down there. It was like sticky. We were out there till like 9 o'clock at night. This was the day we got there. So we were really tired. It was rough, but it was fun.
I've never used an Airbnb and I don't really want to because it's someone else's house. Like
it's kind of cool.
I would much rather just get a hotel room, make a mess out of that.
But what if somebody was murdered in that hotel room?
Then the cleaning service is exceptional.
I feel like for us, it was cheaper and it was more efficient with all of the people that we had because there were 6 of us.
Oh, okay.
After a week in a hotel room or 2 hotel rooms.
Yeah. Plus we were inseparable for the most part, unless it was sleepy time. So that wouldn't have worked out too well.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'd had to have one hotel room where it was like activities only. I feel like we would have needed like a suite in a hotel. And
with like the door that connects and stuff.
Yeah. So it would have been like more, I think it was easier to do it that way.
Yeah.
So now I'm flying to her in October.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Are you guys going to go to a race then or just hang out?
Just hang out.
So we were supposed to go to St. Augustine because Christmas time, I was in Bass Pro Shops doing some Christmas shopping for my husband. He's a Truex fan and he started duck hunting. So I was like, oh, great. Well, I am gullible, and I fell for one of those people that are like, hey, you want a $25 gift card or whatever? Anyway, I signed up for one of these stupid vacation things. What are they? Timeshare things where, oh, you get a 2-night vacation for, $50, but you have to go to this timeshare meeting. And I was like, that was really stupid. My husband's not gonna want to do that with me. He's gonna be mad that I spent this much money on a stupid thing. I was like, oh, Deb will be down for this. And she's like, yeah, we'll just drink and then we'll go. It'll be fine. Except I can't reschedule it because we picked a random date in October because we didn't really have a date settled yet. So now she's just going to come hang out with me in my neck of the woods and we're going to do stuff around here.
That's cool. That's awesome.
We're comparing it to like bachelor hometown dates.
Bachelor hometown dates.
Like on The Bachelor or Bachelorette, when you get to like final 2 or final 3, maybe it's even final 4, when you get to like the last little group of people vying for that bachelor or bachelorette's attention, the bachelor goes to the hometown of each girl and they like show them around where they grew up.
They introduce their family and their friends.
That kind of thing. So that's kind of what we're comparing this to, is that, but
yeah.
Just
The Bachelor.
I've never watched The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. I don't feel like I needed to provide that disclaimer.
When they have a hometown visit on that show either, so it's good.
I just can't imagine dating on TV.
I can't either.
So it's
so awkward.
They always get divorced like 2 months after it's over. Like, I mean,
yeah.
Like,
or they get cheated on for one of the other contestants that the dude or chick was like, nah, I don't want you. And then it's like, you know what? That guy actually did want her. So yeah. Anyway.
Back to NASCAR. Oh, all right. So Deb, from when I was on your show last week, from my understanding, you're Deb, you're the long time NASCAR fan.
Yeah.
Chrissi, you're new to the game relatively.
Yes.
So Deb, we're both 30 years old. So fellow not elder millennial, but mid-tier millennial.
Yeah.
In Maryland,
sounds like part of an MLM scheme. The NASCAR MLM. We are the mid-tier millennials.
Okay, all right. So in Maryland, how do you is it a family thing, loving NASCAR? How'd you get into NASCAR?
Yeah. So my dad is a huge Dale Senior fan, still to this day. And I was born on one of the days Dale Senior won a duel. Yeah.
What? Oh, like, okay, my birthday is February 7th.
February 13th.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, cool. We're really
So you're an Aquarius too, because I'm January 20th, so we're all in that. This is why we're getting along so well.
That is it. That explains it.
Oh,
so, yeah.
So as your elder, Deb, just respect me on this podcast.
And I'm older than you, so both of y'all respect me on this podcast.
January doesn't count.
Listen, I'm 34, okay? Don't tell anyone.
Anyway, go ahead, Deb. I'm sorry.
So that was I grew up and my dad watched races every Sunday, so I watched races every Sunday. We would go do things like, I'm in Western Maryland. I feel like I need to say this before I finish this. We would go on hikes, or we would go shoot guns, or we would go fishing or something like that. And then we would watch the race. Like, that's just what we did. That was how me and my dad bonded. And we still do that. Like, I don't think that he thought it was going to evolve to what it has evolved to, but I don't think he's complaining about it.
Was he like a fan, but still kind of like casually ish?
Now he
you came along and you superseded like where he was in the fan.
Yeah, I feel like kind of, yeah. Like, I feel like he was a really big fan in the 90s and the early 2000s.
Yeah.
He took me to my first race in 97. We went to Pocono for the first time.
Also went to my first race in 97, Texas Motor Speedway, inaugural race.
That's strange. So yeah, and then I met my husband, and he was a NASCAR fan. And we started going to races together. And then my parents started going with us, and his dad was a fan too. So it was kind of like, it's been a family thing. Like it's all because of our dads that were fans.
Yeah.
And now I couldn't imagine not being a fan.
So what do you remember about that Pocono race?
I know this story.
So I don't remember a whole lot. I remember Dale Jarrett winning because my uncle went with us and he was a Dale Jarrett fan, and me and my dad were angry. I remember seeing like the haulers. I remember traffic. I remember sitting in traffic for an incredibly long time. Now, is that an incredibly long time for me now? Or was it because I was like 6 and like, bored half to death in traffic? But so my grandma went with us because my grandma thought Richard Petty was the handsomest man she had ever seen in her entire life.
In 1997?
Yes.
She was a grandma, so.
And wanted to go to this race. So we go, and it's hot. And at the end of the race, I guess I had had enough and grandma had had enough. So she took me down under the stands. And at the end of the race, people, were dumping their coolers.
Oh no.
And grandma got iced. And like, out of everything that happened that whole weekend, all I can, like, the memory that has stuck to me the most is grandma saying words that I had never even thought that were words before, but had figured out that were words very quickly after she got ice dumped down her back from the grandstands. Yeah. Like a whole slew of you like, because it's hot and she's just got dumped with cold ice. It's like those Gatorade showers at football games, except she didn't even know where it was coming from.
What color was the Gatorade?
Yeah. That's hysterical.
Wow.
I love that.
Okay. All right. So Chrissy,
my story is not as exciting.
Then spice it up a little bit.
Yeah, well, I've always been into motorsports, but it kind of started out with like drag racing because I was always close, still am ish, with my brother. He's a couple years older than me, but our circles kind of mixed and mingled a little bit. And him and his friends had like all gotten Mustangs. They started this like Mustang club. No joke. At first it was called Muscle Mustangs of Brevard because I live in Brevard County. It evolved into Brevard Mustangs. And we would hang out at our local drag strip, Orlando Speed World, every Friday. And during the week, as much as I could, I would go hang out with my brother at his friends' houses in their garage, working on their cars. Our friend Davey actually was in the middle of building like a high 8.9 second hatchback Mustang in 93, I believe. This red beast. I'll always remember that car. So I got into cars like that, and I got a couple cars. I went to the drag strip. I had fun. I was like, yeah, I want to be a drag racer. And I was like, hey, Dad. Like one day I remember Googling like drag racing school. I didn't know what to do, but I was like, there's a thing out there, I'm sure. And he was just like, no. And at that point, I was just like, oh, okay. So I never got into racing, but I did do it a lot. I had a lot of fun. We would have Fun Ford Weekend down here at the drag strip, which would start out with a party at our local Hooters at Waterford Lakes, and it was called the Hooters Burnout Contest. So I purposely learned how to do a burnout to go there to shut people up because I had a convertible Mustang. It was a 99 35th anniversary. And I went and decked out in all this like pink gear, these pink stilettos. I had super platinum blonde hair, and people were calling me Paris Hilton because she was the thing back then. And they were like, don't break a nail. So anyway, I do this burnout, and then I'm getting marriage proposals. Anyway, so
escalated quickly.
That needs to be your shirt. You need to get a shirt. I did a burnout, and then I got marriage proposals.
Yes, guys are coming up to me like, "Can I get you a beer?" And I'm like, 17.
But yes.
Yeah. So So that was for a few years. And that's how I met my husband, because sorry, my dog is crying in the background. He had Cobra, and I had moved up in the Mustang world, and I had an '04 Celine, which I still have. And he is a NASCAR fan, and he got me into NASCAR. We watched a race together, and it was actually the first race I watched was when Chase Elliott won his Xfinity championship. And I was like, that's cool. So I'm the type of person who wants to know about people. So I Googled this kid, and I was like, oh, he's from Dawsonville, which is the town basically right next door to where my family lives in Georgia, because they all live in Cumming, Georgia. And I lived there for a while. And I was like, oh, that's like my hometown kid, because I don't know of anyone around here that's racing NASCAR. So that's how I became a Chase fan. And ever since, I've just been watching. And I went to my first race in 2017. So 20 years after y'all went to your first race, I went to mine.
What race was that?
The Daytona Coke 400. It wasn't the zero sugar at the time, I don't believe, but it was the July.
I was at that race.
Were you really?
Well, that was Dale Jr.'s farewell year. So yeah. I was at that race with my dad.
Yeah, so. we had a good time getting rained out for the Xfinity race, sitting inside. That was rough, because the kids, our boys at the time, were like, our youngest was just almost 2. So that was a long day, long weekend. But I was hooked ever since I went to my first live race. And that's why I'm always telling people, I'm like, when they complain about races on TV, I'm like, just go to a race. You don't have to go to the Cup race because it's expensive. Go to the trucks or Xfinity, or when they have ARCA, like, just check it out.
Don't encourage an ARCA race. That's
I mean, it can be exciting. Some of them are good, right? Silver linings.
Sure.
We're gonna go with it.
I mean, right now it's the Ty Gibbs Invitational Series. So
okay, when you think about this season, yeah, it's kind of but a couple seasons in the past, they were pretty good. So yeah, that's my spiel. That's who I am. That's why everything is Chase for me. So woo.
Okay. So who's your favorite driver right now, Deb?
Anthony Alfredo.
Okay. I was not expecting that.
No.
Why?
Why? Okay. So this is a fun one. So I was a Matt DiBenedetto fan after Junior retired, because I felt like I wanted to go with somebody who wasn't not well known, but I wanted to go with somebody like an underdog and kind of like see where their career went after being senior, junior so long. And I didn't feel like I wanted to jump on any like bandwagons, so to speak. So I chose Matt. So last year when he got to 21, I was really excited because my phone number was 2188. So it was like, perfect. So I just randomly tweet that out because I'm like, oh, this is great. Well, somehow Anthony finds my tweet and says to me, hey, I drive a 21 too in Xfinity. You should be a fan. And then he does the whole hashtag fast pasta thing. And that sold me. So like I was watching his run in Xfinity when he was running part-time, and I thought it was cool, and talked to him a little bit, got to know him a little bit more and what he was doing. And then when he moved to Cup this year, I was like, I gotta do it. I gotta go for this, because like randomly on Twitter that happened, and been a fan ever since. We got to hang out with him in Charlotte with his girlfriend, and they are wonderful people. And that even cemented more of the fact that I was like, yeah, I'm rooting on a good guy.
Yeah, these are our people.
Yeah.
And we had him on the podcast too. And I was texting Deb, and I was like, this is a common practice, that when we have someone on, we'll text and be like, oh my God, I love him. And I'm like, oh my God, I love him. He is the sweetest thing ever. Because I started watching him a little bit, because I'm a Chase fan, but I like to watch everyone. I'm trying to still learn as much as I can about racing, and I try to take it, a little bit at a time. So I started getting on the pasta bandwagon, and then after, we became friends with his girlfriend and hanging out with him, I was like, all right, I'm Team Alfredo. He's a good dude. He's got a great heart. He's so good with his fans. It's hard not to like the guy. So
there's a solid group of us who are really good friends because we all supported Anthony.
Okay.
There's a group of us dubbed the Sauce Mafia. Yeah, that's a thing. And
I think mafia sauce sounds better. I think
that can be interpreted many ways.
I think that rolls off. Sauce mafia sauce.
Don't mess with the mafia, you'll get the sauce.
I'm just saying, if you're selling a brand of sauce, what sounds better? Mafia sauce.
Vodka sauce sounds even better, but that has absolutely nothing to do with anything.
Wait, what did you say?
Vodka sauce sounds better. That's a good one. So yeah, it's been interesting. There's been a lot of friendships formed because of him. A lot of different things have happened because we're all.
How many friendships have ended?
None, I don't think.
Oh, it's the way you started that sounded like there was going to be like a second part to it. Like,
oh no,
friendships have formed and people have died.
They were murdered because NASCAR.
No, it's really funny though. My friend's photography career has kicked off because of this, which is also very strange because he has a very, very nice camera. And any race he goes to that Anthony's in, he will take pictures for me because his look way better than my iPhone's cameras. So he's been taking these pictures and Anthony found them and has started to use them. And then on the local level, people have seen his pictures and he's been going to different tracks around North Carolina, taking pictures for people now.
Okay.
So
Pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome how it worked.
So how many episodes of your podcast do you have so far?
That's a great question. I should pull up BuzzFeed and check it out. We used to have a running count, but then we lost
published our
50 or something
a couple weeks ago.
I think so.
I feel like we're at like 55 or 56.
We'll find out. Why doesn't it tell me? Anyway, I'm going to look into this because I want to know now.
I feel like it's like 55 or 56.
Yeah, I don't keep track of mine. I sometimes on my podcast, I have to ask my co-host Crow, how many episodes is this?
Well, looking at our list of episodes, I just now realized that's Anthony's episode was actually the last episode that we had put a number on it. And that was episode 15, Pasta Night with Anthony Alfredo. After that, we stopped putting episode numbers. But yeah, it's somewhere in the 50s. And I can't believe sometimes that we have that many episodes.
They pile up pretty quick.
54.
54? Okay.
Wow.
Apple Podcast tells me
Okay.
that it's 54.
You're way ahead of us so far.
How many do you have? Oh, that's right. You lost count.
I mean, well, we just started this year, so right. And we've been doing it just week by week with the season, and whenever like the sport takes a week off, we take a week off. So for the most part, so 20.
It's not bad.
Ish. We've had bonus episodes also.
Yeah.
So, so what's your personal like goal for your podcast? Like, what do you guys want to like do with it going forward?
We just kind of like having fun with it and enjoying the friendships and relationships and connections we make. Of course, it'd be real sick if people were like, hey, we love what you do. You're females. Let's totally make this a thing. And like, so we can move to Charlotte together and like have like a thing. But
we have an 8-year plan.
What?
We have our
8-year plan. Why wait, guys? Just do it.
Because my husband works for the state up here, and in 8 years he can retire because he's done 20. And then you get all the benefits of the retirement, like the retirement insurance, all the other fun stuff that comes along with being retired. And then you can get a fun job, but then you still can bank in your retirement plus your fun job money. So that's kind of why we're waiting to move to Charlotte.
And I'm just waiting for Deb and for us to kind of get our own, together down here and get the kids figured out. And We want to be up there before junior high or something.
So what do you guys do for jobs or anything, or what do you do?
It's hard to explain what I am. I do consultations work for businesses involving the FDA, and I am an executive assistant at a small business with 2 locations here in Maryland. And that includes like payroll, accounts payable, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And I am an X-ray tech, almost certified personal trainer for exercise rehabilitation, chiropractic assistant, and scheduling coordinator at my office. I work for a facility where you go for all those commercials when people are like, have you been in a car accident? You need to call this lawyer. But I don't work for the lawyer. I work for the facility that does all the rehabilitation and all of that.
Okay.
I went to school for X-ray. I did a lot of that, but now it's just kind of like I'm everywhere in the office. So like if Deb and I are talking and I don't reply, I'm like, sorry, I'm literally out of my seat running around all day, just like helping everyone. So yeah.
Taking pictures of people's insides.
Yes. Radiating them with pleasure.
What's the weirdest thing you've seen on an X-ray?
I've seen, well, this was not something I personally X-rayed. I've seen piercings. I tell all the patients all the time, and this blows their mind, but I tell people I can tell if they need to poop, if they have gas, if they've just eaten, depending on the area I'm radiating. You can see piercings, you can see dentures, you can see all marks from surgeries. Lots of IUDs for the women. But when I was in school, my teacher brought in an X-ray, like our first month, when we were just learning like the backstory of it. And she's like, does anybody know what this is? And it was an X-ray of someone's abdomen. But there was like this big gray like thing diagonally across it. And we're like, I don't know what that is. Someone's stomach. Turns out this was a 66-year-old man whose wife and him thought using a pool noodle as a intimate toy was a good idea. And it got stuck. So that's what that gray matter was. That was the pool noodle. And this is a man. So you know where it went. And I also saw an upside down Purell bottle. And that's like a mild thing.
Pool noodle. That.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was not expecting that.
Oh yeah.
That was not what I was.
It's great.
Wow.
You see a lot when you look inside someone's body for a living. Let me tell you that much.
Wow.
The craziest fracture I ever saw was, unfortunately, it was a young boy whose parents, I guess, I don't know what happened. The kid was climbing on their TV stand. Big heavy TV fell on him, crushed his skull. That was not fun, but it was a very fascinating X-ray. So yeah.
This is what happens when the human head is almost crushed.
Yeah.
Oh.
And last quick fun story, I had to do a trauma X-ray. This person was in a motorcycle accident and I was in school and they were like, hey, take an X-ray of his ankle. So when you do an ankle, you lift the leg, like around the lower calf. So I went to slide our little X-ray cassette under his foot, but when I lifted his leg, the leg moved, but the foot stayed down. So imagine that skin stretching, because he dislocated his complete foot. And that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to make Deb sick.
I think you already did make them sick.
Sorry, Deb, I forgot for a minute that you were sick.
It's okay. I haven't eaten dinner yet, so we're good.
Cool.
Oh, dear.
So anyway, that's X-ray. Back to NASCAR.
All right. Okay, so you guys got a lot of decorations on your wall. What like for each of you, what's your most prized NASCAR memorabilia possession?
That's hard.
Ooh.
That's a really hard one. I have a few that I don't have up yet, but one of them is actually the picture that Alfredo signed for us in Charlotte. Man, I don't know. I feel like that sounds meh, but I have a lot of cool stuff. I got these 2 Xfinity win hats that are on my wall from when we went and toured Junior Motorsports. One of the workers came out and gave them to the boys, so that was cool. Denny Hamlin he noticed Ronan, because we had met him at Daytona last year, and gave him the Coke bottle he signed during driver intros. So I have that over there. That's pretty cool. I think that's probably my favorite.
Cool.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to tell the Erik Jones story before I.
Oh my God, how did I forget? So,
she's Erik Jones. Go ahead. You explain what you are.
Okay, so the last year, 2020, yeah, when Erik Jones, when Erik Jones won the Clash, my thing is I run down to the start finish line whenever the end of a race with Ronan. So when Erik Jones won, Denny Hamlin was behind him, and Ronan didn't understand that Denny Hamlin was not losing to Erik Jones. He was already like a lot down, and they had chosen us to go get the checkered flag. My son was the one who rejected Erik Jones on live TV when he tried to hand him the checkered flag. I don't know if you remember that.
I do not.
So yeah, and it went viral, and I had to go on Reddit, and because people were bashing me, telling me I was a bad mom because it's the internet. I am a horrible mom because my kid has bad manners. So I had to go on and be like, that's not true. This is what happened. He was pissed because Denny's his boy. He thought Erik stole the win. And my kid naturally, his whole life thus far, anytime someone he doesn't know comes up to him, he's just like, stares at them in this really judgmental face. Like he doesn't like people. So yeah, I had to go on Reddit and explain it. I had to post a picture with me holding Ronan with the sign that says, my kid rejected Erik Jones. And we ended up actually getting reached out to by Toyota Racing, and we got to go meet Erik the day of the 500, and he signed, we went to Walmart, and Ronan found his, the hauler truck, and Erik signed it to Ronan, and he hung out with us, and that was really cool. So yes, that would probably be my most prized possession.
I'm gonna have to go look that up.
I have a video somewhere. I'll have to go through my phone and send it to you.
Okay.
Because everyone was out messaging me like, oh my God, you're on TV. And I was like, I know. Fun fact, I also sprained my ankle when that happened because, excuse me, they turned around and pointed at me and they're like, down, down, down. So I'm like, oh, I gotta rush. And they had these ropes blocking the stairs to go down. So me not thinking, let me unhook the rope, I'm like, I've got my kid in my arm. Let me just try to limbo under this thing. I roll my ankle running down the stairs, and it was great. I couldn't walk for 3 days. It was great. Mom life.
Okay, my favorite things that I have are books, believe it or not.
Are they romance novels?
I finally finished the trifecta of books. I have Dale Jr.'s Driver Number 8 autographed. Met him, got it autographed. Waited a really long time for that, worth every second. Steve Letart's book, also.
That's a massive autograph.
Huh?
That's a massive autograph.
Yeah, he's got a really fancy autograph. Like, it's real fancy. It's nice.
It almost looks like an oval track.
And then Dale Jr.'s Racing to the Finish book. Also.
That's the only one of those I've read.
Autographed. I've read them all. They were all very good. And those are probably my prized possession because I'm a reader and it was really important for me to get the books that they wrote autographed.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, after reading that book, it made me wish that Dale Jr. had retired earlier.
Yeah, I feel like as a huge Dale Jr. fan that I was incredibly selfish during those times, not wanting him to retire. And then you read that and you're like, oh yeah, you should not have been doing that as long as you were.
Like when he tells the story about how at Talladega when he dropped back, and he got so much flack for that. And I was one of those guys Dale, what are you doing? Then I read the book oh, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a good example of, not understanding what's going on at all times on the racetrack when we think we do.
Yeah.
Enter Twitter, NASCAR Twitter entered the chat.
just not knowing, we're lucky in the sense that NASCAR drivers and personalities and teams give us so much inside. Like we see a lot. And we're very privileged with that. And I think that sometimes since we think that we see so much and they post and they interact, that we know what is going on. And in reality, like you don't. You have no idea. Like you may think you have an inkling, or you may know to some extent, but you don't know fully until somebody comes out with a book like that.
Mm-hmm. That's why they call them tell-alls for a reason.
Yeah.
And probably that Sam Bass autographed photo from 2010. That would probably be.
Oh wow, that is cool. That's
I
very
met
cool.
him in Martinsville the same year I met Richard Petty for the first time. They were having a thing in 2010 during the truck race, and Richard Petty was there. Who else is on that? Sam Bass was there. Harry Gant was there. I believe that's who that is. And I feel like Barney Hall was there as well. And I got different things autographed by each one of them. Like that Cheerios box is autographed from Richard Petty. And if you can see the airplane behind me, the picture of Petty's Air Force One.
Oh, okay. Okay, I can barely see it.
It's also signed. My Dale Jr. stuff is slightly blocking
Shrine.
But not quite shrine, just all this kind of neat stuff that I've collected over the years.
It's on its way.
So as female fans of NASCAR, what do you guys think that NASCAR does right when it comes to engaging with your demographic? What does it do wrong? What could it do better?
I think as of lately, there's been a lot more attention on females in motorsports as far as them bringing so many more women into the shows. You know, you've got Caitlin Vincey, Jamie Little, Hannah Newhouse, all these amazing women. There's tons of them. I mean, I could go on, and they're giving them a lot of platforms. And I think that's great, especially now the girls coming up through other series. So I think they're doing a great job of trying to highlight the strengths that women have and what they bring to NASCAR. However, I feel like they still don't get the equal kind of discussion as the males do, because when they talk about females, they're always like, okay, this is a great run for a female, great, oh, Haley Deegan's doing this. She's got, female this, female that, which it's great because it's true. But at the same time, it's like, why do we have to always say, oh, what's good for a girl? Like, no, it's in general, a driver is a driver is a driver. It shouldn't matter what's under the helmet, as long as it's the same passion and everything. I think there's a lot of fans that are being a lot more inclusive. You still have that whole section that's like, you're a female, you don't know what you're talking about, get back in the kitchen, make me a sandwich. And I hate that, but for the most part, I feel like it's on the up and up, and that's kind of where we are, like, trying to bring the attention to females, but also people that are more in the back too, that don't get that recognition that they
like Liz Pristella.
Yes,
the tire specialist for Gaunt Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of her, so that's a new name for me.
She is amazing. She has her own clothing line.
Yep,
it's called Torqued. She designs garage pants for females in any garage. It doesn't matter whether it's the NASCAR garage or it's the ladies changing the oil at the local oil shop or tire place. She is
tough pants. Yeah, we actually had her on our show a couple times. Yes. So anyone who's sitting there and having the same reaction, they're like, I've never heard of her. She's on our show. She's a great listen. She did a fan episode with us where we had a group of fans on. We did a YouTube live and she joined us to kind of talk with the fans, and as did Natalie Decker. So shout out to those two ladies for being amazing and joining us and our fans. But yeah, she's an incredible woman. She could run circles around those race shops. She does a little bit of everything, and she does it with a smile on her face, and she's a badass.
So you last week you guys had sent me like a list of questions that you were planning on asking me. I think maybe you maybe asked like 3/4 of them or something like that. So
we got off in a great conversation, and you did a really awesome dramatic reading of that book. So
Yes, I did. Not to toot my own horn. That was a lot of fun. So, but I went back and looked at that list and said, okay, I'm going to turn tables on these two fine women. So I got one of the questions to ask you. So if you two had a warning label, what would the warning label be?
Warning: sass, attitude. Warning: sass and attitude ahead with a side of sugar.
Okay. Is that a warning label or a promise?
It sounds like a yield sign, to be fair. It's
Yield
more like
sign.
hey, just an FYI, there's some trouble ahead, but it might be worth it.
Okay.
I think mine would have to be warning: don't approach unless caffeinated.
Unless caffeinated.
Yeah.
That's a good
Wait,
one.
unless you're caffeinated, or
Yes, unless I'm caffeinated.
Okay. All right.
Because I tend to get you know how people get hangry?
Yeah.
That's me without caffeine. There's not really a good word to equate that, but I have to be caffeinated to function.
Yeah. I'm guessing you're a coffee person?
Yeah. Or well, there for a while, I always have a cup of coffee every day. Black coffee. Just coffee. Nothing fancy, just coffee. I have one of those a day, usually. And there for a while, I was having a problem with Bang energy drinks. It's an energy drink company. They're up here. Chrissy's got them in Florida too, but they make a Georgia peach tea flavored energy drink. And I tried it once and I very quickly got addicted to it. We'll put it that way. And I was drinking one of those a day, every day. So I've stopped that now and have been switching it up to something a little less bad for me. But yeah.
A little bit of Monster, a little bit of Rockstar, a little bit of Amped, just
Energy cocktail.
No, when Amp was a thing.
It's still technically a thing.
Well, when they had it, okay. So when Amp and Junior had the partnership and Midway had them and they would give them out, at the end of the race, when the race was over, I would go back around the Midway because they would just give you the leftover stock.
Oh boy.
So I would come home with like 3 18 packs of Amp Energy sugar-free because that was my jam at the time.
Dang.
And there was one year I went to like 6 or 7 races and I pretty much didn't have to buy energy drinks for a really long time because they just kept giving them to me at the conclusion of every race.
That's pretty awesome.
Wow.
They were just, they would literally just hand them out as people were leaving at the Midway. So I would just go down and I'd be like, hey, can I get the
I'd go find the beer sponsor stands. Like,
yes.
Where's the Budweiser stand?
Yeah, right.
I would like your leftovers.
Yeah, I guess they didn't want to take them. I don't know, but they gave me. I came out of those races so many times. I would just, while we were in the race, we would drink the beer or whatever. But my cooler would be empty, so I'd just go down to the Amp people. They'd load me up with Amp in the cooler, and I'd take it home with me.
All right.
Pretty awesome. I missed that stuff. They did that at a couple like dirt track races with NOS, and we would stock up on that. Not like to that extent, but like we would get 1 or 2 at the beginning, and then we'd grab another one while we're walking around. And we never had 18 packs. We'd usually just have like 1 left over.
I forget what Amp came in, but it was like one of those like really large containers of.
Yeah.
All right. Another question for you guys. What would be your dream pre-race concert?
Ooh. I would have said Linkin Park. That can't happen now. I'm into rock, so I would do Shinedown would be incredible. I love Shinedown, Breaking Benjamin. And the little kid in me would say the Backstreet Boys, but nobody wants that. So it's not
at a NASCAR concert. The Backstreet Boys performing before a NASCAR race. That would not be good.
That'd
That'd be something.
That'd be a lot of booing. So I'd have to go with the Rock guys. They would probably amp up the crowd a little bit more.
I'm with you on Shinedown, but Erik Church.
Mm-hmm. Isn't he the pre-race artist at Daytona coming up?
Maybe, I don't know, but I love that man.
He's the one who did the song Talladega, right?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Has he performed that at Talladega? That's all
I don't know, but I feel like that's one of those things that I have to have happen. That's like a bucket list thing for me. I have strange bucket list items. Like one of mine, it has a lot to do with doing the things that are in songs. So like Gary Allan has a song about watching airplanes. So my bucket list was to watch airplanes while the song was playing. So my sister drove me to BWI because they have like
what's BWI?
The Baltimore Washington Airport.
Okay.
And they have a park there where like kids can play and you can just hang out. So she literally took me there, sat me on a bench, and we played watching airplanes probably like 5 times in a row while we watched the airplanes come and go.
That sounds fun.
So like there's stuff like that. Like I feel like I have to listen to Talladega while I'm in Talladega. One of our friends, Jacob Harbor, who wrote our intro song, has a song, I think it's 7 More Miles, and it's about going to North Carolina, and there's only 7 more miles to the NC state line. So I played that song when I saw the mile marker going down to 7 miles before I was in North Carolina on the way there in March. So that's kind of, it's a list thing that I kind of work on.
I think that's cool
too.
So how many different tracks have both of you been to? Like how many have you checked off?
She's been to a bunch. I've been to 3. I've been to Daytona a million times, Homestead several times, and now Charlotte. That's it. Very sad.
Pocono, Richmond, Dover, Martinsville, Charlotte, Bristol. Did I say Martinsville?
Yeah.
Did you say Daytona?
Daytona. I think 7.
Okay.
Oh, I guess I could add in Volusia Speedway and New Smyrna, but they're not technically like huge NASCAR tracks, but there are local hometown, home tracks.
But they're all like within like I'm in a weird spot in the like east where Dover's like 4.5 hours from me. Richmond's about 4.5 hours from me. Pocono's about 4.5 hours from me. Martinsville's like 5.5. So like those are normally my radius. But then next year I'm planning to go to Darlington for the throwback. And I recently found out Watkins Glen's only 4.5 hours from me, and I did not expect that. I thought it was going to be farther away. Like I was thinking like 7-8.5 hours. So that's next year too.
I want to go to Watkins Glen. That's on my list.
That's a bucket list race for me too.
So I'll be going to Daytona next weekend for the first time as a media member.
Me too.
As a media member.
Media. Good for you.
So I've been there as a fan, like I said, in 2017. Just got back from Indy. I've been to Texas, Bristol, Charlotte, Darlington, Martinsville, Indianapolis. That might be it.
How was Indy in person? Like, how was that vibe? Because
I
can't imagine. Because
that wasn't my first time going there.
Great weekend to go.
It was different. Because I first went to Indianapolis in 2014 in grad school. I covered both the Indy 500 that year and then the Brickyard weekend. That was the first time I ever covered a NASCAR race. Kansas. I've been Kansas. But it was weird because it's not packed like the Indy 500. And the front straightaway grandstands aren't even remotely full. Most of the fans are seated in like turn 1 area, and then the oval turn 2 area, and people are like lined up on the mounds on the backstretch in the infield. So it's you can't really get a good feel of what the crowd vibe is because they're just in such different places. There's no concentration of it. But like, I was there, Saturday and Sunday, and there's plenty of people just walking around the infield. Not 250,000, but they were there. There were people having a fun time.
Yeah.
Even after the 2 really long red flags.
That was stressful.
Yeah. I was parked for the final 2 restarts or whatever. I had gone down from the media center down to the courtyard area right at the base of the pagoda to watch on the video boards. So I could see what happened at the end of the race and then quickly go to the pit road and stuff because it would take a little bit if I was going from the media center. So but I wound up being down in the courtyard area for it felt like an hour waiting. All right, this race is gonna end sometime. And so for the final restart, the last 2 laps, I was out on pit road watching on different set of video boards. And it was after all that waiting, the crowd was still into it because when Chase Briscoe went off in the grass, they're like, "Woo, yeah!" And then when he turned to Hamlin, they got even louder. Woo! So they were still into it. They hadn't checked out or anything after all that. So that was nice. And but it was weird because you had just multiple different things going on. You had Allmendinger coming out of nowhere winning, and then you had the Hamlin and Briscoe thing, and then you had all of the curb stuff, which was its own thing. So, but I focused on AJ Allmendinger because it's still 2 days later and everyone's still just talking about the curb thing. Let's talk about AJ Allmendinger winning.
This was a win no one was really, not to say wasn't expecting, because AJ's really great, really good on street or road courses.
He was 17th. He was 17th when that caution, the second caution for the splitter being stuck beneath the curb. He was 17th at that point. Yeah. And then the 2 huge wrecks happened, and then on the final restart he's 3rd. So and then he just takes it.
It's insane.
First win in 7 years, and the first non-charter team win since the introduction of the charters. That's
wild.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. They're a part-time team. They're not even running full-time in Cup, and they get their first win.
Yeah.
Right.
That's fantastic. I don't understand why people are still talking about the curb.
I can't believe people.
That's such a feel-good story.
Yeah, I can't believe people haven't picked up on that alone. The fact that it's the first unchartered team to win since the charters came out, that's huge. Yeah. Especially considering how important, obviously, the charters are for the teams. That just goes to show, anyone can technically do it. So, but for the most part, what we're seeing, within reason, what we're seeing for me mainly, most of my NASCAR stuff is on Twitter because I don't really flood too much on Facebook. Instagram's meh. But what I see with NASCAR Twitter, and we can all of us that are on NASCAR Twitter know that there was they just bees to honey when it's something dramatic.
Yeah.
And it's that was a great topic during the situation. A little bit after, we get it, that was huge. But hello, this is a massive story for NASCAR itself. This one right here, AJ, all that. No, okay, well, fine, So,
all right. Well, guys, thank you for joining me on this episode of Dropping the Hammer, which will drop next week. This was fun. I would love to do this. How far are you into in high gear, Deb?
I have not started it yet.
Oh,
I'm gonna order it. Here looking at me. Well, I was gonna start it today at work. Oops. But I didn't go to work because I was not feeling as I should to go to work. So I think I'm gonna start it this week, probably tomorrow.
What is it? It's high gear?
In
high gear. Okay, because I'm gonna order it.
Because I want to get it started to do my review writing.
And so we can do a proper dramatic reading, like so you doing the female voice and me doing the NASCAR driver voice.
Oh,
I love that.
So I'll make sure that I put sticky notes where there's good where there's good dialogue, so we could
Did you know that this is called Harlequin NASCAR? Did we go
Yeah.
over that?
Yeah.
Okay.
that was the publisher.
Oh,
Or-
right.
or-
I feel like it's like a theme because I'm like, ooh. I'm gonna order that one. Anyway, it's not in stock on Amazon. I'm gonna Google it on eBay.
eBay. I got all of
eBay.
these on eBay for like $11.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, done and done.
So all right, guys. So tell our listeners where they can find you and your podcast.
Our podcast is at fastlap_podcast. My personal is at CT Luttrell9. It's LUTTRELL 9.
Okay.
My personal is Deb B3888. And you can find the podcast on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, and I feel like there's one more.
They're on most major podcast platforms.
So thank you guys for joining me. We definitely need to do this again.
Yeah.
If only for the dramatic reading. If only for that.
If there's any
Definitely.
third person, like, and they did this, I got that part.
Yeah.
You're the neutral narrator.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Perfect.
And I'm the grizzled NASCAR driver.
Perfect grizzled NASCAR driver voice. Sounds like he smokes a pack a day.
Yeah. All right. Well,
That's
all right.
who you-
Well, I'm Daniel McFadin. This has been a special episode of Dropping the Hammer. Thank you guys for listening.